meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via a roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Chair Melissa Ricos.
Present.
Ed Harrow.
Present.
Matt Moyen.
Present.
Now let's see how we're doing here. Jim Cirillo? Nope. Walter Garland?
Present.
Great. And I am Ted Barker Hook. I'm present. I will now confirm that staff, the staff that are present. Judy Day, the Hopkinton Conservation Administrator.
Present.
Anna Rogers, the Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
And Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
Before I pass it over to Melissa, I want to let everyone know that we do have one hearing that has been continued. If you are here for the 37 Oakhurst Road meeting agenda item, that's been continued to January 27th, 2026. Otherwise, I think we are on as planned on the agenda. There you go, Melissa.
Thanks, Ted. All right, we'll get started here on our work session items, which first up we have the 2025 annual report, which Judy and Anna drafted up for us to take a look at. I think you guys did a great job summarizing our 2025 year. Good pictures in there too. Does anyone on the commission have any comments or need some additional time to review? I believe the annual report, do we have about a month, Judy?
Yeah, it's due before the next meeting, so
Oh, it is.
get it in a little early. This is I think the last time in meeting for commission members to give feedback, but I can always take them via email.
Okay. Does anyone have any feedback at this point in time on the annual report? This is something we do every year, and it just outlines what we did over the year 2025 for the residents in town.
Looks great to me.
Yeah, it's good. It really kind of, when you count, you see those numbers for how many notice of intents and project exemptions and things like that were completed in the past year. It's pretty impressive. Been busy.
Up from last year too.
What was that?
You're up from 2025 too, or 2024
on those numbers. Yeah. Okay. Well, if anyone takes a look at it in the next week or two and has any comments to send them over to Judy, and then they'll be finalizing that before our next meeting. All right, next up we have revised enforcement order for 10 Exchange Street. So Judy drafted this up based on our last meeting. I don't believe we have, this is actually also agenda number 4, item number 4 under work sessions for restoration plan discussion. So we don't have a plan to go with this yet, right, Judy? Which
Correct.
we would want to include with the enforcement order. So this is a draft and work in progress. I personally need a little more time to review it because it's pretty detailed, but Judy, did you have anything in particular you wanted to point out or for us to pay attention to?
Yep. So I would direct folks to the conditions pages at the end. This has the details on what exactly would be required through issuing this enforcement order. So we kind of pulled it from similar enforcement orders in the past. Starts with general conditions, but the specific actions under restoration conditions and invasive species management conditions go into how long the plans shall be in place, what the expectations are for monitoring, interim reports after each growing season. We took feedback from last meeting for the survival rate of plantings. So we put 80% survival rate after 5 growing seasons, requiring plantings are native, non-hybrid, non-cultivars. And then sort of at the end of the 5 growing seasons of both restoration and invasives management, looking for a final report to determine the success of both of those actions. So if anybody has feedback on the details of that, I thought it would just be easier to have the same timeline for plantings and for invasives management. We don't always do 5 growing seasons for plantings, but I thought it would be less confusing since the invasives are going to need that long to just have them both on the same timeline.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Does anyone have any thoughts or comments at this point in time for Judy?
Chair,
Yes.
Chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I thought it was very solid. In reference to the time span of 5 years, I can report that in open space in the Whitehall Conservation Area, we are 4 years at this point with the knotweed. We hope we're done. There were still 2 stalks this year. Hopefully next year there'll be none. So knotweed is extraordinarily challenging to get rid of.
I should clarify, it's 5 growing seasons the way it's written right now. So I think that would equate to like 2.5 years. But if you'd like the timeline to be changed, can definitely take that feedback.
That's a good clarification because in my head, I went to 5 years. So growing season is like season of the year.
Yeah, I was reading it as a spring and a fall, where each one. Joe, am I wrong?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah,
Yes.
growing season is generally, April through October
Okay.
of each year, or May through October of each year. So it would more or less equate to a calendar year. But if plantings go in too late in the growing season, they're generally not included in that growing season. So if you plant in September and submit a report in October, that is generally not counted as the first growing season or the first year.
Okay.
I can add a definition in that case for growing season.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Through the chair, this is Ed. So
Yes, Ed.
we are talking 5 calendar years then, correct?
With that clarification, that's how I understand it, yes. Which is in line with what you said, Ed, your experience.
This is just for the invasives, or is this for establishing plants? This is just for. I apologize for coming in late.
It's okay.
Is this just for the invasives, or is this for establishing new plantings, new plant material?
So we were saying, or Judy was saying that 5 years would was what we were thinking for the invasives.
Okay, I'll go with that.
But yeah, but because the plantings we don't typically do 5 years, but to keep it consistent and on the same time frame for our review schedule, then she included 5 years for the plantings
Oh.
as well, just to be on the same schedule.
All right, so I apologize for this question, but what do we normally require? I thought it was 2 growing seasons for establishing
for plantings.
new plantings. Is it 2 that we've used normally?
Yes.
In which case, 2 of the 5 include both, but then 3 only include the invasives. I don't know.
Well, I
I
guess
don't know.
it's up to us, really. We can say that, we can say 2, and we can say 5. And
I mean, it seems to me that the 2 is just to establish 2 full growing seasons. So said differently, if it was planted spring of 26, then 27 growing season, so then 28 would be reported as healthy and mature, or healthy and taken.
yeah,
Which would give a 2 growing seasons, report on it when the next growing season begins, or just report it on at the end of 2. I mean, that's just, I don't know. If it doesn't take hold, my experience is sort of just around houses is if it doesn't take a hold in 2 years, it's not going to take a hold. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, I guess
But-
I guess we think about it that way too. Sometimes if it's too far out on these plantings, then we also find that we can't find them anymore, and we don't know what was the planted one versus things that have grown up around them.
Well, that ought to be a condition of accepting it as established plantings, is that anything that's not established got to be replaced. We do that anyway. Anything's got to be replaced, or if it can't be found, which I remember some recent examples, then yeah, it's got to be replaced for the new plant. So I was just thinking about that. What's the period of time for invasives and separately for the plantings?
Okay. All right, we can stew on that while we review it and provide some comments back, Judy, before the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and
Through the chair.
yes.
Sorry, I think we also have the homeowner on the line who had a few questions. So maybe while we're on this topic, see if she has any input.
Okay.
Or we can
Yeah.
return to it, whichever you prefer.
We can do that. I was just gonna say, do we want to talk right now about item number 4, the restoration plan discussion as well, since got our heads, kind of on this project? Okay. So the homeowner, Padma, right?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. Hi.
Let's go ahead and talk about both this enforcement order and the restoration plan discussion. Do you want to go ahead and do you have thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah, so I'm totally on board of planting those plants, like as Dave submitted the plan, like the 84 trees, 51 shrubs, all of those things, and he's pointed out where exactly located. We're going to go ahead and plant them during the spring session. So, and all the plans and everything is clear to me. So there's no questions on that. However, I have. So when you're heading from 135, making a left to the 10 Exchange Street, like the area to the left of 10 Exchange Street, like honestly, I did not know anything about knotweed before. But after after reading through the knotweed like a while back, I learned like something about how it grows inside. It's very difficult to destroy and all that. So there's a town-owned property abutting the 10 Exchange Street, which is fully of knotweed. I went in and I checked fully 200% or maybe 500%, to the point that it is actually protruding onto the road, that it's actually blocking the cars that would go there. So, and that is where that is the starting point of the knotweed, which is coming to the 10 Exchange Street, to the point this summer I was even, because I mean, obviously this is the first time I even know, and I saw that it is spreading on our property and now I am even more scared, what it's going to do to my property in future, like you all were concerned. So I don't know how many years going back this is, and you let that knotweed develop in that area so badly and to affect a thing, and then you're asking me as a homeowner and then like you're dumping all of this responsibility of 5 years on me. Is that fair? I just wanted to ask you guys. So, I mean, if that's what you think you can do, because at this point, I'm frustrated. I just want to like get rid of that area. I'm just so frustrated at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then like now you are also saying, oh, you usually do 2 years and you want to do 5 years now. I don't know why. Because, I just feel you're being very unfair to me.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
No, I appreciate the concern for the neighboring property, and there's no house or anything on that property, right? We don't know who the owner is.
Through the chair, the town owns it.
The town owns it.
And I sympathize with the property owner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to shut up now before I get in trouble.
Well, no, I was going to ask Ed if you had any thoughts on this type of situation, where you're trying to manage knotweed on a property, but you don't have control over the adjacent property, what the limits are to what you can do. I don't think you want to do nothing, because it just will continue, right? But what's a happy medium?
In my opinion, okay, I'm going to go out and get in trouble. The town needs to take this on. The town, and I don't mean this particular parcel, I mean all over town. This and Bittersweet are rampant all over town. And the town is ignoring it. Okay, now I'm really going to shut up.
And I'll help you and say that I think there's definitely more that can be done on the public roadways.
Through the chair, Melissa?
Yes, Ted.
I also am sympathetic to 10 Exchange Street, but unless the GIS is wrong, this is not owned by the town. It is an unknown owner, which makes things even more frustrating, I think, in controlling these things, but it's not the town's property, if the GIS is correct.
To the chair, I misspoke. Yes, unknown owner, which might as well be the town.
So we're asking this owner to take care of the unknown owner's properties?
Well, no, we're not
Is
asking.
that clear as part of this?
No, we're not asking the owner to take care of someone else's property. We're only asking for the invasive species management within her own property. But obviously the concern is that there's invasives on the adjacent property that aren't being managed. So, I guess, Joe or Zell, do you have any, have you seen something like this before with an invasive management plan, where you kind of have this hard line that you're working up against, and how you maintain that when the invasives are right next door?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I mean, all you can do is manage the invasives on the property in question. And if nothing's being done on the adjacent parcel, over time, once management stops, you're probably going to get reinfestation on the existing parcel, on the parcel you were working on. So I think one of the questions is where on the 10 Exchange Street property the invasives are located. So I think the knotweed is primarily more in the center of the property and not along that property boundary. And I know that was one of the things that was supposed to have been done on the revised plan, was to show the locations of the stands of invasive species. And that might help as far as the commission visualize where those are and whether or not they are clearly coming into the site from an adjacent parcel or not. I don't recall that adjacent parcel. I don't remember looking at that specifically as far as what vegetation is out on that parcel.
Yeah. Judy, do we have a plan with that, the invasives on the property
We
highlighted?
do not. That
We
was
do.
one of Joe's comments that has not yet been addressed.
Okay. Padma, do you know if the comment is going to be addressed, if we're going to get a plan with
I got
the
the
invasive-
plan. Because they asked me to get a plan of treatment and all that. I have the plan. I mean, I have been spending. I have taken loan. I have been spending and spending and spending. So I have the plan. So
plan meaning the invasive management plan, or an actual plan within that has.
I haven't started any of those things, but I have the plan to manage the invasives. Yes.
Okay. I think in order to, move forward with the plan and both address your concern with how not to have this snowball into something that's kind of out of your, responsibility area, will be important to identify this is the area invasives that the plan is focused in treating. I think to answer your question about 5 years versus 2 and why is 5 years so long, we were talking about 5 and 2 because in invasive species management, typically that plan is 5 years worth of work and follow up in order to get those invasives under control. We use 2 years for the plantings for the new trees and the shrubs, and that restoration work, that's 2 years, because that's how much time a tree or a shrub needs to get established and we can feel comfortable that it's going to continue to grow and thrive. So 5 is what we typically. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I also have another question. So now let's say I continue this plan, but what is the guarantee that, because it's so much knotweed on the other property, it's going to grow underground, it's going to spread again, right? It's not, unless that is contained. I'm very nervous to even start anything, in my opinion, because what I read, it's going to spread underground. You guys know better. I don't understand that, but then how good is it, my treatment plan, if this thing is not addressed, the source of the problem?
Yeah, so I think, and Joe and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but part of this is all stemming from removing trees and removing native vegetation that was there. And that's one of the things that prevents invasives from spreading. Is having that native vegetation. So that's kind of why we got to where we are. So what we're looking for is to reestablish those native plantings and put them back. And, that will help, because otherwise you're just this, it's going to spread. It's going to come on your property. And I think
with all respect, I disagree that statement though, because when even when there was like these the trees that existed there like were like hanging, I don't even know the names, the bittersweet and all of those things, some of them were even poisonous, because the guy who even removed them, I mean, they suffered 3 weeks after removing them because some of them were poisonous. I also did not know. I felt so bad for them. So to your point that from my layman knowledge, that the trees kind of helped protected the knotweed. I don't know how much that is true because it was like a forest, like a jungle, right? Like it was all over. I don't think anyone like would want to be like that kind of a thing if it's there in the property. I mean, you like trees, but they at least like need to be like trees. It was like all creepers, like all like it was like, I don't know. I mean I don't know. So to your point that I created this problem, I don't agree with that with all respect. So.
Melissa, can I say something?
Sure, Jim.
So I don't think Melissa was saying that that you created the problem. She wasn't saying that because it was there. But if you look around, just about anywhere, you'll see that the knotweed grows on the edges of roadways, on the edges of paths, in areas that are bare of trees. There's no natural understory, there's no canopy to keep it out. So Melissa's correct that that trees and other vegetation does keep knotweed out and limits it to those areas that's open to the sun. The Oriental bittersweet's a completely different story, but as far as the knotweed, yeah, you don't usually see it in the middle of a forest.
Right.
That's it.
Do you think we can build something like a wall or something? It will like if we dig out and like build some kind of a concrete wall, it will help like to the like a border. It will help like not to spread like to our property between the instead of like what I'm thinking is I just don't know instead of like having this management plan, like spending money on that, if we have like a wall with a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Joe. Joe, do you know, is that a method of controlling? Knotweed is our primary concern here, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen it used as a control method. I mean, it might help hinder the spread.
It has to be pretty deep, though.
Yeah, it would have to go deep because they have to keep the roots out. And I think the homeowner's responsibility would be to meet the conditions as of the 5 years, and beyond that, if things start growing back in, I don't think the commission's going to come back to the homeowner and say, oh, it's coming back, now you have to start up again. It's limited to the time of the enforcement order condition. And if the site is clear of invasives at that point, then the conditions have been met.
Yeah, that's
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
Just also a reminder that shared property line is in the middle of the resource area too. So.
Yeah, a wall might be problematic.
Would we, Melissa?
Yes.
Would we allow someone to use black plastic to cover the, I'll say, infestation, and then would we allow them to cover that black plastic with mulch or chips or something above it, above the black plastic.
Within the resource area?
Well, in the area of the knotweed. Well, yes, it would be in the resource area, but it's in the area of the knotweed to control it. I mean, that is a proven technique of controlling it. You suffocate it for a couple of seasons in the summer, and I think that kills it. That's just an option that's thought about.
Right. I guess that would be if it was something presented in the management plan.
Yeah.
That Joe could review. And I think having we talk about the plan as the written plan and talking about how these are going to be controlled, but the actual site plan, the plan that shows where the work's being done, where things are being planted, and if we can have that, I think it's important to have that, like Joe commented, to identify exactly what invasive species area we're talking about. I think that is important for us, and I think it's also important for Padma, so she knows, this is the area of invasives that we're looking to be treated and managed over, the period of time. So I do think that's an important piece of information that we're missing, or that we need in order to complete both the enforcement order that Judy wrote and the management plan. We don't have that yet.
Through the chair, just a comment on that scenario for the control. In a situation like that, if you're going to cover the infested area, you would have a delayed planting of your native vegetation, because you'd need quite some time for those plants to die completely in an area that's been covered, and then the planting would likely go in afterwards. So there would be on a different time schedule.
Okay.
I believe, sorry, through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes,
I believe the Vermont Land Trust had an article discussing the control of knotweed that involved technique like Jim mentioned. So that would be a worthwhile thing to try to dig out.
Okay. Okay. So in regard to the restoration plan discussion, work session item number 4, Judy, is there additional information that we have to discuss there?
Through the chair, no. So we haven't received updated plans since the last discussion. So we did receive the restoration plan, discussed it at the last meeting, but the commission had several comments regarding the locations of the PIBs. And Joe had also prepared a memo of comments that have not been addressed either. So there aren't any new materials to discuss at this point.
Okay. All right, then I'll just go back to Padma on whether you have any additional concerns you wanted to discuss, and if you can address Joe's comments from the last meeting for us to move forward.
Yeah, so the flags were already put on this isolated wetland onto the right of the garage. The flags were already in place, and the plants narrative, it's like very detailed on the left, like how many plants, what kinds of plants, and all that. So I'm not seeing at least a need for any additional thing. It's very clear as far as the plantings are concerned. It's very clear to me, like what needs to be planted, where, I can work off of this plan. The additional PIBs where you noted like to cover that. I think that can, other than that PIB thing, I don't think you need anything else from the plantings perspective. This looks like a workable plan for me to plant the plantings. Is that, are you guys looking for something else from this plan? Other than the new PIBs to cover that thing?
Joe, do you have your comments handy to highlight?
Yeah, I do. I think with regard to as far as the plantings, species, they all look fine. They're proposing 54 trees and 74 shrubs to be planted. 84 trees were cut. So I think the one question would be, is the commission satisfied with 84 trees being cut and 54 being proposed for planting? I did note that within the wetland areas, there is at least 1-to-1 replacement of any trees that were cut. Padma mentioned the PIBs, whether or not I think was discussed at the last meeting, those should be extended. Let's see. Elevation contours are not on the plan. That was an item I had noted for the commission to discuss whether or not that should be required, or whether necessary. The erosion control barrier, I had a question as far as several locations. I know it's shown around parts of some of the wetlands and not other parts. So I was just curious as far as some further explanation on the location of the proposed erosion controls. Then I had some comments regarding the enforcement order requirements for the invasive species management plan. And that was one I had mentioned, was that it was supposed to map on the on this site plan where the invasive populations were located. The extent of the invasive species locations on the plan, information on which species are present, and how to identify them, and that's provided with regard to Japanese knotweed in the plan that was presented, but it does not include some of the other multiflora, some of the other invasives that are present at the site, such as multiflora rose and glossy buckthorn. Same with treatment methods. It's described for Japanese knotweed, but not for the other species present at the site. The timing, performance metrics for success, those are supposed to be included in the invasive species management plan, and they are not. The methods for disposing of material, the plan states that cut knotweed will be neatly stacked on site. I suggested some additional information be provided, such as wrapping the material in black plastic and making sure it's not carried to other locations on the site. I think that pretty much covered the comments that I had with respect to what was submitted previously by the applicant and what was required by the existing enforcement order with respect to the invasive species management plan and what was still needed.
Okay. So it's two parts, I guess, here. The planting plan, which is what we're looking at. So if we look at this plan, I don't see a reason, unless someone has a thought on it, why we need to require elevation contours for this particular plan. I think I'm okay with not adding that effort and expense unless anyone can think of a reason that's helpful.
I agree with that.
The trees, so 84 trees cut, 54 trees are replacing them. How many bush or how many shrubs did we say?
74 shrubs.
74 shrubs.
So it's a total of 128 woody plants for 84 trees.
Okay. I think I'm okay with that. So like 1.5 to 1. For this particular site, does anyone have any thoughts on that count? I think it's probably good to mix in shrubs and trees.
Yep.
Yes, the shrubs and trees.
What was that, Jim?
I said yes, shrubs and trees.
Shrubs and yeah, 128 for 84 trees.
Wait, what was that? 84 trees. And how many shrubs?
No, 84 trees were cut.
Oh, I see. So
so
a combination of the two.
The combination of 128 plants are being planted. 54 of them trees, 74 shrubs.
Okay.
So it's not quite 2 to 1, but
Through the chair, this is Ed.
yes, Ed.
I guess I have two comments. One is, I will call it disposal of the knotweed. By piling the knotweed on site, it will reroot. And if it's taken off site and not disposed correctly, it will end up like what was growing on the side of the shady oaks or the guy. Oh damn. I'm drawing a blank. Road off of Saddle Hill does a loop named after a guy who started a
Daniel Shea.
Daniel Shea, thank you very much. Shea's Rebellion. So an adjacent parcel was dumping quantities of stuff that had been removed from other sites, and it was full of knotweed. And that knotweed, of course, started growing there and migrating onto town property. So the knotweed needs to be disposed of in a way that it's not just like taken someplace else and dumped.
Yep.
And I think, as far as the trees go, I know we're saying, native and cultivars, et cetera. It might be worthwhile to spec what some of those trees are so we don't get silly little trees. That's all.
Yeah,
The trees are listed. The trees are listed on the right side, on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Of the plan.
They are. There's a planting list that identifies the trees and shrubs proposed.
Yep. Okay. I guess the only thing it doesn't say is, or we haven't specified a size, a size of tree.
Right.
So we usually okay. So before we talk, we can appreciate that thought, Ed. I'm going to hold it for a minute for the enforcement order invasives plan to talk about that in a minute, but if we can just get through the planting plan first, I think. Is anyone not okay with the number of trees and shrubs being proposed? I'd like to establish that.
Through the chair, Melissa, I feel fine with the numbers, but I do think you're right that we ought to have a size at planting. And I don't remember what has been kind of our standard expectation. The 2-inch diameter, 4-inch diameter at planting. I don't remember what we've done and asked. But I do think that would be important.
Okay.
After all, putting pine cones in the ground and hoping they grow over the next 2 years isn't going to cut it. So we're going to want something more substantial than that.
Yeah.
But I don't remember what standard we've done.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Judy, you can take a look at if we've specified anything. So for some reason, I feel like 2 or 2.5 inch, might be appropriate. Maybe look at what we did over off of Blueberry Lane, Myrtle and Fitch when they had to replace trees.
Yep, I can do that.
Okay.
And
then, yeah, okay. And then the erosion control barrier that's on the plan, is that, do you know, Padma, what the reason for that line is, where exactly it was drawn? It looks like maybe it's between where plantings are going in the wetland, between the two.
You're referring to the dotted line, like
The dash line, yeah.
the dash line. I'm thinking erosion control. I can check with Dave. Dave is going to be here at the next meeting, so yeah,
Okay.
I can check with him too. Meanwhile,
Okay. See if that needs to be tweaked at all, or if it makes sense where it is. Especially if they're going to be planting in the wetland anyway. I guess it depends how much earthwork needs to be done in the adjacent area. Okay. So I think that covers the planting plan, and we can kind of wrap that piece up with those comments being addressed. So Judy will get back to you on the tree size for the new tree plantings. We're good with the tree numbers. You don't need contours. Just clean up the erosion control boundary, and then that should be. Oh, and then yeah, I think that's it for the planting plan. Does that make sense, Padma?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. And also the PIBs need to be. There are a few more PIBs need to be put there.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're good there. All right. And then on the invasives, obviously Joe had more detailed comments on that, and how, I guess the question would be, can you look at addressing those comments? I think importantly, what's not in there yet is the map. It's a plan similar to this, but just shows where the invasive species are that are going to be managed and the types. And I think that'll help both you and us understand, what the responsibility is here. And then, going over the next 5 years of the plan as they're being managed, it gives that baseline for this is where it is right now.
So when I call that invasive person, most of the, from my perspective, a lot of it was to the left of the garage, and some of it was onto the right. Now, are we doing? Someone pointed out earlier, are we doing that separately than the trees, and first resolving that before the tree plant, the planting is happening, or is that going to happen simultaneously?
I believe it happened simultaneously, but Joe or they'll correct me if I'm wrong or if it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it often is simultaneous, but sometimes the planting is delayed, because if you're planting in a really dense stand of invasives, the likelihood of success for the plantings, decreases significantly. So sometimes there's a period of invasives control that happens first, and then the plantings happen. I think it depends on what's proposed for the invasives control. If you're going in and cutting everything and treating with an herbicide, you might be able to plant at the same time, depending on how dense a stand is. But if you're going to be doing foliar spray and follow-up treatments, that it makes it more complicated because you have to try and avoid the plantings that you put in. So it depends on the specific plan and the details of the specific plan.
Okay. Okay, so I think that's something you'll have to talk to the scientist who's putting the plan together.
So Joe, you have that invasive thing. Judy, I sent it to you. I don't know. Did Joe have that plan? Because
Yes,
right now the plants are not there. I think then otherwise we have to wait until for them to grow to kind of reevaluate, right?
By the plan, do you mean the proposal that you received for the invasive control?
Yes.
I did review that, and I compared that to what the Conservation Commission required in their previous enforcement order, and that was what I was speaking to before, as far as elements of that proposal which are still missing.
Okay, so that one probably have all different kinds of invasive species. Because right now, because it's winter, I don't have any plants. We have to wait. Otherwise, they have to come again and redo it, right? So I think that at least removes that element of different kinds of species, right? It's invasive species. That plan, it does not specify. I don't know. Does it specify or not specify that particular document?
The proposal that you received was specifically for knotweed. It did mention that other invasive species would be identified on the site, but it didn't talk about any of the treatment strategies for those species or other species that are known to be present at the site. And I know at least there's glossy buckthorn and multiflora rose, and likely, I believe, probably from what you described, bittersweet also, the climbing vine. So the invasive species management plan should at least address those additional species.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is if for them to, then we have to wait at least for the trees to grow and then them reevaluate and then do, because right now there's none, right? Or I don't know if you are able to tell by the stems. I don't know. Different species of plants.
To treat them.
Yeah, the tree stems. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might take a little time to get that invasive species plan worked out if it doesn't have all that included yet. So I think at this point in time, we've been on this for a little while. We got others on the line here too. I think at this point in time, if you can take a look at Joe's comments on the invasive species management plan and talk to who you've engaged with that about Joe's comments, and see if they can work on addressing them.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we'll continue. This was just work session, so okay. Yeah, when you're ready with that and have some feedback, then we can have you come back. And in the meantime, the commission will look at this enforcement that Judy's drafted up, and we'll provide comments, and we'll work on that on our end.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep, thanks. Okay. Let's jump up to the continued hearings now. 47 Oakhurst Road, notice of intent continuation.
Hey everyone, this is Andrew Tebow with Goddard.
Hello.
You guys mind if I for my screen I have a couple iterations of this plan that I'm going to show, if you don't mind?
That's fine with me, Judy.
Thank you.
All right, should be all set.
Perfect. That coming up okay? All right, again, for the commission's records, my name is Andrew Tebow. I'm the project's wetland scientist. Since we've had a number of hearings, I will jump right into it. We were last with the commission at the November 25th meeting. At that meeting, we had presented a few major changes. Just to summarize them very quickly, the major takeaway from that meeting was this was when we had proposed to remove the 120 square foot shed that currently sits off the rear of the patio, and we increased the number of mitigation plantings. So that iteration of the plans had jumped from 91 mitigation plantings to 110, and it had reduced that hardscape by 120 square feet. So at that meeting, we had talked about a few different items. It seems like at that meeting, the location of the house being out of the 50 was now agreed upon, and we shifted our focus to the mitigation plan and as well as the after the fact approval of the patio. And so that was where the bulk of our conversations were directed. There was a few requests of the commission that came out of that. One is that the concrete retaining wall that lines the bank of the lake here, we had discussed that this area can function as a PIB, but that it should be labeled on the site plans as such. Up until that point, it was not yet. And then the commission did express some concerns over still the limit of hardscape that was requesting after the fact approval. With the number of mitigation plantings, we had the request that this, even with those changes, it may not have been enough, and to take a second look at the mitigation plan. And so we had continued out a couple meetings to allow for those changes. Since then, the commission has received 2 different iterations of the plan. The reason being is I was unable to attend your December meeting. So what we did was we submitted an updated application. We asked Judy and Joe to take a look at it, provide us any feedback in the interim, so that if there were remaining comments, we could address them prior to this meeting. So as far as the new materials go for the commission, since that meeting, what we did is for the first submittal that you received in early December, we updated the mitigation plan a bit. That included both the reconfiguration of some of the plantings that we see here, as well as the addition of a few new ones. So at the last meeting, we had discussed that we had 110 mitigation plantings in the backyard here, which is getting to be very tight on the lot. And so we were looking to see where we could add a few more. Another thing that came out of that last meeting was the commission had showed us the lakefront planting guide, where the goal was to try to stagger plantings on the sides of the properties to try to limit the direct space between developed surfaces and the lake. We had some conversations that is difficult on already developed lots, but that we would take a look and see what we can do. So one of the main things that we did is we were able to add 4 new low bush blueberry plantings, and we were also able to reconfigure and move some plantings around. So with me being able to jump back and forth between screens here, what we mainly did is we extended the planting area out a bit on this corner, and we also added more shrubs up in the corner here. And the goal of that was to sort of decrease that lawn space and the developed surfaces between. That way we had basically no access through this area here. It would be all native plantings, only a narrow walkway here. And then the only direct access to the lake would be down their existing stairs. That was submitted back in early December. As I had stated, we were not able to attend the meeting in December, so we had asked for that to be reviewed. And then in late December, Judy and Joe got back to us with some additional comments that mainly that the commission may like to see a little bit more. At the last meeting, we were talking about the reduction of additional hardscape in addition to mitigation plantings. There was a request to add a slot drain detail to the plans to make sure that that wall was labeled as a PIB. and to provide updated measurements on the request for after the fact patio within the 25-foot. Specifically at the last meeting, it was asked of us to calculate the total impervious surface cover within 25 feet of the bank of the lake and then relate that to the mitigation plantings. And so that resulted in an additional round of improvements that the commission received actually on New Year's Eve. And so that's what we see here. What's changed since the previous proposal is we are now proposing to remove additional hardscape. So in addition to that 120 square foot shed being removed, there's an area on the patio that's now about 146 square feet. It's used for their fireplace at present. It presents an opportunity to remove additional hardscape. And so we modified the plans to add that as well. So what that did is now before the last meeting, we had increased the mitigation plantings and also expanded the planting area by reconfiguring the plantings. And now we have reduced the hardscape cover as well. In addition to that, we did label that the retaining wall would be functioning as a PIB. That's on both the mitigation plan and the site plans themselves. And then we added the slot drain details of the plans, and we provided the updated calculations requested by the commission. So just to recap that, with the removal of the fire pit and the replacement with crushed stone to make it pervious, what that does is now it reduces the total impervious surface cover within the 25-foot to the bank to about 189 square feet. With the reconfiguration of the plantings, we are proposing 840 square feet of currently either lawn or that deck space to be replanted as native plantings. So what that gave us was about a 4.4 to 1 ratio of mitigation along the banks of the lake in sort of a swap with that 189 square feet of impervious surface cover that's been generated here. So at a high level, those are all the modifications that we've made. Because this area is all lawn at present, with this current iteration, the improvements we've made, we now think that all the comments from the commission have been addressed. This is a plan that we believe has now addressed these items and that does result in an improvement over existing conditions. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to questions.
Did we lose Melissa?
You're showing mute for
Oh,
me.
sorry, I was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Thought you were all listening carefully to me. No, I was saying thank you, Andrew, for going through that. Can you just go one more time? Maybe you can use a pointer to go through the areas. The breakdown of the areas in the 25-foot. I know it was like written in a narrative, but 189 square feet of new impervious surface within the 25-foot. That's the pink to the green line. The pink
Exactly. So
green line.
that would be using the PIB right here in blue.
Yeah.
With our 25-foot buffer in green here. And then the pink is what is being proposed as after the fact. The gray is what was there previously. And then this fire pit area that we see is like a dotted color. This is currently pink, but we're now proposing to remove it, put crushed stone so it's a pervious surface. So all that would be within the 25. And then because we've directed the plantings to be all located within the 25 to try and follow the lakefront planting, about that, the entirety of that 840 square feet of mitigation is within the 25. So it's basically 840 square feet of mitigation for 189 square feet of patio.
Okay. And the 189 is the pink area.
Correct. Yep.
Does anyone else have questions or want additional clarification on those numbers or on that topic? That was something we were specifically looking for last time.
Melissa,
Yes.
so I think I was thinking of something else. But the existing hardscape is going to remain, the whole thing?
Yes.
No
Okay.
longer the whole thing. So now what you see in pink is proposed to remain. So I only have pulled up the last one, but we've been reducing it with each meeting. So what you see here in pink is proposed to remain, but there are the two areas that we see on my cursors here are now both proposed to be removed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Um, okay. And let's see, maybe Judy or Joe, can you clarify that? So that 25-foot buffer, no disturb zone, green line, compared to the 25-foot bylaw BLSF buffer. Oh, that's being measured off the red line. Okay. But as far as our no disturb zone goes, it's the green line.
Through the chair, Melissa, if it helps, we also did calculate it from the 25-foot to BLSF. I had previously submitted a narrative that our interpretation of the bylaw is that the intent of the 25 is from the resource area itself, but we did also tabulate the numbers taking the 25 from the floodplain. Knowing that area's lawn behind it now, it's interesting to tabulate from, but it was also included in the submittal. If I can go up to the table, I can show that we have a much greater impervious surface cover within that because it pushes up into the developed portions of the site. But it was still only 636 square feet of impervious surface cover with 840 square feet of mitigation. So even if we included it from the BLSF, we were still providing more mitigation than impervious cover.
Okay. 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 I think everything that we asked for in the last meeting was provided here as far as numbers, details, and whatnot go. So just gonna open it up to the commission if folks have questions, comments at this point, because I don't know that there's much else to go over.
This revised plan looks good to me, Melissa.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this site? No. Okay. So hearing none, I'm thinking we might as well go ahead and vote on this application. One thing I think we should probably do is bifurcate the vote per the Wetland Protection Act and then also by the bylaw. Wetland Protection Act is not as stringent on the 25-foot buffer as our bylaw is, so there might be different feelings when you're looking at it one versus the other.
Okay, so would you like a motion to approve this under the Wetlands Protection Act?
Yes, I would. Thank you, Jim.
I'll second that motion.
All right. So all in favor. Ed?
I hate being first.
I thought you wanted to be first.
There's only one answer, Ed.
Yes.
Ted?
The act, yes.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Yes. Remember, this is under the act.
This is under the act, yes. Walter, do you feel comfortable voting on this one?
Yes, I'll vote yes.
Okay, you'll vote and you vote in favor.
Yes.
Okay. And myself, I'm also an aye under the act.
Okay, now will you take a motion to approve this under the town's bylaw?
Yes, can I get
And
a
I will
second?
second that motion.
All right. Ed?
I'm going to say no.
Ted?
Ted is a no.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Yes.
All right, and I'm gonna say no. But that carries with 3. Oh wait, no, that's a split.
Yeah, we're short an odd number of members.
But there is, but that does that defaults to
Well, no.
a no.
So
Hearing that, I would jump in and say, is there, rather than leave this to a tie, I know there's a new commission member coming. Is it reasonable to leave this open under the bylaw to extend that conversation a little bit? I think that if there's a split vote, it would be the hope of the applicant that there's something that can be done to bring those no's to a yes. I say that because this application seeks a lot of after the fact work as well as the construction of a new dwelling, and it's in both the interest of the applicant and the town to try to seek resolution on this, because my thoughts are we need to permit this after the fact, because if we do not receive an order of conditions under the bylaw, there still will be open items on the site that are not necessarily in compliance and will have to be addressed regardless. And I think the applicant has made every intent during this process to address them and to continue to see where we can make improvements. And so the easiest pathway to resolution seems to be able to leave it open under the bylaw to attempt to do that. But I'll leave it to the commission from that. That's my thought process hearing the split vote.
Ditto.
Leaving it open.
Ditto.
I don't know, Judy, do you know, can we do that?
Through the
if the applicant presents something new, we could retract the motion, some new information, and that seems like new information to me. So I would be okay with not taking that vote now and waiting. Although I will caution that whoever the new member is going to have to bring themselves up to speed on the history of this to understand where we are. But I'm sure they can do that.
And I would also clarify that if that new member chooses to recuse themselves, then fully understand on the applicant team, and we will go to a vote with the 6 members. But I think that this at least gives the opportunity to attempt to try to find a final resolution, at least with the members here now as well. I think that would be the way to do it, and obviously we do appreciate you considering that.
Yeah, I'd be willing to withdraw my motion, Melissa.
To the chair.
Chair,
Yes, Anna.
maybe Anna ought to go first.
I believe that you have, somebody would need to make a motion to rescind that vote under the bylaw. And then if that motion passed, then the hearing has not been closed under the bylaw, and then you can continue it.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to rescind that vote under the bylaw and
Second.
revote at a future date.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Walter,
Yes.
and I am also an aye. Okay,
Melissa, can I ask a question?
sure.
So it seems the sticking point is the 25-foot setback, that there's hardscape still existing within the 25-foot setback under the town bylaw. Is that
Right.
kind of what we're stuck on here? It sounds like no one has made any issue of the plantings, all that, et cetera. It's just the hardscapes that remain within the 25-foot area that seem to be the thing that people that voted no from the town bylaw are against.
I think so. I won't speak for everybody, but I think having protecting that no disturb 25-foot buffer from impervious area is the sticking point for me.
So it would seem that
Through
the
the chair.
feedback for the homeowner is if you want to do something to seek people to approve it that we're on the no side, is to do something more about the the impervious area that's within the 25-foot?
Mm-hmm. Good. Yes, I'll let Ted go ahead and speak his piece.
I think what I'm looking for, and I think I've said this a couple times, I do appreciate that there is less hardscape than there was, but looking at this plan the way it is now, if it were unbuilt, I could not approve it. I would love to see less hardscape in the 25, or I'll repeat again, a planting plan that creates a true across the way buffer with curving paths to the waterfront. I'm not looking to deny access to the waterfront. I'm looking for plantings that create a barrier across the entire section if we're going to have this much incursion into the 25-foot buffer. So I think there's two routes or a combination of routes to move my vote before we have another vote. I appreciate the plantings, and I know the applicant said that this is an unprecedented number, and I'm happy for that. This is not a plan I would approve if it were offered right now, and I think that improvements can be made still that could move my vote.
Thank you. That's valuable feedback. And also, before we get too far onto that as well, thank you to the commission for taking a look and rescinding that vote. I think that is, one, a nice gesture to the homeowner, and two, I think that that is a good path to resolution. So your comments make sense, and I think that to leave this as the open item under the bylaw, I think we can certainly work to address them. I do want to ask a clarifying question. The comment about impervious surfaces in the 25 makes sense to us. When we talk about reducing it, I do want to just note for conversational purposes, there was a bit already in the 25 with the patio and the shed here. We had some sort of limit of disturbance. Is it reasonable to expect that the commission would be looking for a strong reduction, but not necessarily a zero due to some being there previously?
Through the chair, I can give my own answer. I don't
Go
speak
ahead.
for the
Go ahead,
commission.
Ted.
I am not, if there was a removal of all hardscape in the 25, even with no plantings, I would probably move to a yes, but I'm not necessarily looking for that. That's why I'm saying a balance of the two. I appreciate that the fire pit is now gravel, but I'm still, as many plantings as there are, I would prefer to see them snaking all the way across if we're going to still have incursion into the 25. So a combination, I think that kind of purpley gray line there, that's the trench. Is that true? That runs
Right.
north-south?
This is the drain.
For example, if the pink to the lake side of that were to become gravel and we expanded some plantings so that we were reaching more across, that might be enough to move me depending on how that looked when we saw the plan.
Understandable. And our
Speaking again only for
do
myself,
that.
obviously.
Yep. No, that's very valuable feedback and exactly what I was looking for with that question. So thank you, Ted.
Through the chair.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Okay, Ed, go ahead.
I'm not a purist.
Okay. Go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, we were just thinking for the vote under the act, just since we're considering new plans, that vote should be rescinded as well, so it's clear what exactly the commission is approving.
And we're fine with that. We have marching orders to continue to the next meeting. I think if we want to rescind that vote to keep things clean, we'll do it however it works for the commission.
I'd like to make a motion to rescind the vote under the act.
I'll second it.
All in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, Matt.
if you've got a minute for me,
I do have a minute for you. Sure,
All
you've
right,
been quiet,
appreciate
so I
that.
can give you a minute.
I appreciate that. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different perspective on this one. Frustrations of the fact that this is an after the fact request for the patio and the work within the 50-foot buffer. I think in a lot of ways, the lakefront properties, if they were to go the path of taking roof runoff, putting it to subsurface recharge areas, putting in, like a slot drain or a foundation drain that takes patio runoff and puts it into those chambers, and then planted the first 20 feet off the lake in a manner like this, where we have this many shrubs to filter and help with that runoff to the lake, is a fair trade-off for work within that 50-foot buffer versus fertilized lawns, stormwater runoff going into the lake with phosphorus and nitrogen and other pollutants of concern. So from that perspective, I think it would be great for the town if more properties had plantings like this, and subsurface recharge, if it meant we had to give up some of that encroachment into the 50 or the 25. So still frustrated that we're dealing with this after the fact. But I think this as a whole could be a positive in the end.
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
That was worth a minute.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate that.
Okay, so that being said, we would want to continue out to the next. I don't know if you want to continue to the next meeting well, I guess I'll leave it up to you. If you look, our new commission member would have been sworn in tonight, still needs to get signed in at town hall and hasn't attended a meeting yet. So that being said, our next meetings are January 27th and February 10th.
I think we'll go to January. With this project having so much history, I wouldn't bank on the fact that a new member will want to review all the materials and vote on it. And I think that we just received clear feedback from commission members of how a vote could change. And so I think that is enough for us to continue for January, and we'll proceed in that manner.
Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to January 27th?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get
Second, this is Ed.
all in favor? Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim. You there, Jim?
Yes, aye.
Okay.
I was muted.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too. All right, next up we have 15 Montana Road. Notice of intent continuation. Okay. So we've got a couple new materials on this, but limited. Judy, do you want to just go over what we've gotten since the last meeting?
Sure, through the chair. So we have a revised site plan showing further extent of the drainage swale around the property, as well as some materials from the homeowner describing the historic use of the property. I think I would turn it over to homeowner or Joe Marquardt for more detailed description of the revised materials.
Sure, Joe here. Evening all. When we met last time, there seemed to be a concern about some of the other swales beyond the limits of what we showed on that original plan. We had been highlighted on the existing wetlands behind number 9 Montana at the easterly corner that cast buffer zones across that portion of the site. We heard the commission raise an interest about the swale that continues westerly. and terminates at the stone wall along the westerly boundary line. That's what you see on this plan. On the west edge of the paddock, heading easterly, that is unchanged. We've added that blue thick line heading westerly, the swale along the boundary installed by the homeowner at Kelly to handle flows across his property from adjoining properties. And then I believe at the request of the chair, Ed had shared some information about the history of the farm, its uses, with some idea of what has happened in the past and what is happening in the future. Ed has memorialized that and submitted that with the package too, for the benefit of the commission to appreciate just what he has there and how he intends to use it going forward.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions that I had as I was visiting the agricultural definitions in the bylaw and the act, and it didn't come through on the narrative that was provided for the history of the site, is whether the activity, the agricultural activity, was considered commercial or not. I don't know if you know that, Joe, or if the owner's on the line to add any detail there.
Yeah. Hi, this is Ed Kelly from 15 Montana. Yeah, so from a business standpoint, there's different income generating streams that have happened time in and time out, not consistently. We do some additional horse boarding, some temporary, what they call free leasing, where folks leave their horses at your house and you allow them to board. We've done some milk and cheese and meat sales, but those things become an issue with licensing for different dairy requirements in the state after a certain income level, those kinds of things. So we've always limited that. So I guess the definition of commercial, it has to be, is it a full-time income for us or a consistent income stream for us? It is not. Has the farming activity been consistent since we've occupied the property? It has been. So as far as the definition, I think it meets the intent from a standpoint of how the land is used. From a business standpoint, I can't really give you that definition, but I think everything that's mentioned in the bylaw happens out here. It's just a function on whether or not it generates an income for us.
Okay. Okay. And there's never been any deed restrictions or anything placed on the land as far as agricultural activities go?
No.
Okay. Okay. I think Joe or Zell, did you take a look at this and have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I have not reviewed anything since the last meeting. In fact, I was just checking my emails. I wasn't aware that anything new had been submitted on that. And so I can certainly take a look at that moving forward.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Yeah, I think I had waited on sending this to Joe because I was waiting for confirmation from other Joe on whether the swale was also delineated or if it was just survey located. I wasn't exactly sure. that this plan had met the commission's and DEP's comments regarding delineating the property. So I think that's where the hangup was. Didn't end up sending this over for another review from Joe O.
Okay. Joe Mercadon, do you have an answer to that question?
To answer that question, yeah, this is survey located. This is the existing swale.
Okay. Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And I would just note that there is also some BVW along that swale in the will be the southwest corner, if that is the lower left corner of that property, and on the western edge, which I would think should be delineated also.
Okay.
Through the chair?
Yes.
Joe, you feel that is on-site or off?
Some of that is on site. There is definitely some off site, but there is some on the site also.
Okay. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions on what we're looking at here?
Through the chair, this is Ted.
Yes, Ted.
I apologize. My mind drifted for a moment. Could you review again that definition of commercial agriculture? And I'm curious if the boarding of horses qualifies as commercial agriculture or if that's something else.
I would need to look again and research on the word commercial. For agriculture under the Act. It's defined as land primarily used for agricultural commodities for commercial purposes.
A commodity assumes a good for sale, I think, yeah.
Yes, but I mean that boarding horses is, sale of something, I'm not sure. I need to do a little more digging on that.
As I'm trying to puzzle it out, I'm wondering if that doggy daycare place over the border in Southborough counts as commercial agriculture, or is that something else? It seems to me boarding horses and boarding dogs probably aren't too different. I just don't know how that fits in the categories.
Yeah, this one is definitely new territory to me. It might be something that is worth reaching out to DP on, because I think it does change the way you look at the site and how it could,
100%. That's why I want to try to, and maybe, I'll leave it at that. 100%. I think getting a handle around what commercial agriculture means will have a big impact on how we look at this.
Right. I think it gives a lot more leniency and leeway to do things on the site. So,
through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
It's very important in my mind that it talks about primarily used in producing or raising. So it's not just a commercial purpose; it's the production or raising of those agricultural commodities.
Yeah. Okay.
So whether or not boarding horses is considered raising.
Breeding would be raising probably if you're breeding for sale, but boarding is different.
To me, that's the sticking point. What does that truly mean? And I'd be curious if DEP has an opinion on where boarding falls within the confines of that definition.
Yeah.
So if I could add some more context, we do actually have an active dairy farm as well where we breed dairy goats, both for milk and for meat and dairy products. So that's been consistent for the last, 12 years here and 15 years prior. So that's actually more of a primary activity on this farm than the horses are.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
I just want to also point out that the definition of the bylaw of agriculture under the bylaw does not refer to the Wetlands Protection Act, but refers to General Law, Chapter 128, Section 1A. So that's another definition to look at.
Another one to look at. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, did you have those dates and time frames? I did read through your narrative, but I can't remember off the top of my head if you had that level of detail for um the dairy goat
Yeah, I mean,
meeting in the
that
years.
that's been since day one. So I mean, if I needed to amend the narrative to be a little more specific on dates, but you know, since the day we moved on to the property,
Okay.
our generation of the family, we've had dairy goats on the property and and horses. So all of those activities have taken place in their entirety since the day, you know, we've moved on the property. Because
Okay.
we moved from another farm to this farm, and
Okay.
so we brought everything with us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that level might be up because Judy, I believe it was DEP that was kind of the impetus for this research project.
Yeah.
So it's not just us, but it's crossing our T's and dotting our I's with DEP. So I think
Chair,
yes, Matt.
can I add to your list, Judy, if you're going to reach out to DEP?
Yeah.
Can you get clarity from them? Because I think I remember the answer, but I want to make sure we're clear on this. The other part of it is presently, right? What does presently mean? My prior understanding, at least how I understand it to this point, is that presently referred to at the time that the act was implemented. And that creation of land and agricultural use now may not fit in that definition either. So be good. If nothing else, it would be good to get educated on that piece of it.
Yep, I can ask them about that.
All right, so I think I'm gonna look for a motion to continue this one out as well to January 27th.
This is it. I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Ted will second.
All right, all in favor, Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. All right. Thank you for the extra information, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, I guess let me know if you want any additional details. I'm happy to provide them.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up we have 12 North Mill Street. Notice of intent for a continuation on the single family house. I think I saw Mr. Petrozzi.
Yes, I'm here.
You're here.
Still awake.
Good.
I learned a lot about knotweed tonight.
Always learn something when you come to our meetings.
Exactly.
Just don't know what it's gonna be.
Well, since we last met, we submitted a revised plan and we increased the replication area to comply with the 1.5 to 1. We counted the trees. We added more trees into the replication area. And I understand that Lucas Engineering has provided some comments, but they seem to be mostly administrative in nature. So I'm not quite sure what we need to do. We're going to be meeting with the Board of Health on the 12th, seeking their approval of this waiver for the drinking water well. And so I'm not sure quite what we do from here.
Okay. Well, I'll first ask Joe if you concur that most of your comments have been addressed and if there's any to highlight outside of being administrative at this point.
Yeah, I think a lot of the comments went away because the large crossing of the wetland and stream is no longer proposed. I do have a couple remaining comments. Still recommending that the applicant submit a construction and post-construction invasive species management plan. And let's see. With respect to the alternatives analysis, the current site plan, and there was a waiver request for a waiver from the requirement for 1.5 times the wetland alteration area mitigation for the alteration. But apparently with the revision, the current plan does provide at least 1.5 times mitigation to the altered area. Therefore, it looks like that waiver is no longer requested. There's also wondering if the applicant had considered innovative alternative septic designs that might be approved for the site that could possibly decrease the size of the soil absorption system and maybe allow some more wiggle room on the property, seeing how tight it is. The plan does include locations of trees greater than 10 inches. It wasn't clear which ones of those exactly were going to be removed, because I think that's proposing 16 trees to be removed of that size, and I think that the existing condition plan shows roughly 25 or so. Just was looking for some clarification as far as what trees were being removed, maybe a list of the trees that were being removed, make it more clear. As far as the construction sequence, recommending that be revised to reflect the current plan proposal. Same for the wetland replication plan narrative, and same for the BVW wetland compliance evaluation narrative. Those should all be revised to reflect the current proposal. The plan has been revised to show the 125-foot buffer line from the PVP in the northwest corner of the property. The offsite PVP to the southeast does not have the 125-foot boundary or buffer, recommending that the buffer lines shown on the notice of intent plan match the buffers that were approved on the ORAD. And also that the commission discuss how they want the vernal pool buffer line to be labeled, possibly as the 125-foot vernal pool habitat boundary or something along those lines. I know there was some discussion of that at a previous meeting. Let's see.
So the buffer lines, if I can just interject for a minute, the buffer lines, you said to match the ORAD plan?
Correct.
So the 50-foot in yellow here?
Well, yeah, but if you look at the other parts of the plan where the vernal pool PVP buffers are shown, you can see the PVP buffer to the left of the plan has a 100-foot line and not the 125-foot.
Oh, okay.
So that the 125 comes onto the property, and that was what was approved in the ORAD. So just to match the the buffer line, the locations of the buffers that were approved in the ORAD.
Okay.
No erosion control detail is provided on the plan. Would recommend that that be shown on the plan. And I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, one of the administrative ones, it's just, Form 3 would recommend that the Wetlands Protection Act Form 3 be revised to reflect the currently proposed alteration and mitigation. And I think that pretty much covers it.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, a few cleanup things. Cleanup things to do. I think the one that jumped out as far as what we might want to discuss was on the alternatives analysis. Were any innovative septic designs considered, or would that have an impact on the placement of the house that impacts here, Mr. Richards?
Well, we won't know anything until we go to the Board of Health and have them make a comment on the design, which I think we have filed with them.
Okay.
But the whole plan rests on the fact of the commission approving the plan, number one, and number two is that the Board of Health recognize that we're seeking to disturb less of the site and grant us a waiver for this well location. So, I mean, it's like a cat and mouse type of situation. We can't do one without the other. And so what I was hoping that the commission would consider, if you are considering approving the plan with conditions, that many of the items that Joe has mentioned in his comments are really just, I consider them administrative details that just making revisions to the plan that could be incorporated into an order of conditions that we do between now and you have 21 days before you have to issue an order of conditions, that we have that opportunity with an approval, that we have that opportunity to present those revisions that Joe has mentioned and give us an opportunity to go in front of the Board of Health with a positive outlook from the commission. I quite honestly, from my previous experience, is that the Board of Health is not likely to give me a positive vote unless they know that the commission is going to give a positive vote. So it's like someone has to start the ball rolling. And I was hoping the commission would do that with a conditional approval that we could go to the Board of Health on Monday night and ask for their consideration as well. I mean, the plan blows up if we don't get one or the other. So, and like I said, I don't think the Board of Health is going to give us anything positive unless the commission gives something positive. So it's clearly up to the commission.
Okay. Well, so as I was saying, I agree. A lot of it is plan cleanup, but the two things that jumped out as me as discussion items for the commission was that question about the septic design, and then the clarification of trees being removed versus those being saved.
Well, if I can just say that, as you can see from the contours of the property, the whole site is basically cleared.
Yep.
So it doesn't make any sense for us to identify the trees that are going to be removed because they're being removed. I mean, we're not. Unfortunately, can't do that. Regarding the septic system, of course, we'll consider whatever the Board of Health is allowing us to do, but the impetus on us or the requirement of us is show that we can comply and then explore the opportunities to reduce these new types of systems that are available, and then work with the health agent to seek an approval along those lines. So it's like, I know we want to do that as well. I mean, we've struggled with this whole property for a long time. So if there's any way that we can reduce the area to be, as far as the leaching galleys or the leaching trenches and that sort of thing, sure, we'll certainly consider all of that stuff at all. It's not really an earth-shattering type of alternatives, but we won't be able to do any of that until the commission grants us this relief for the filling and the replication and the well location. It's simply, we're going to be at a standstill. We'll have to come back, and you'll have to do it again, and we'll be in the same spot.
Yep. No, we don't want to, certainly don't, not the intention to hold this up forever. So would also like to see it move along. Does anyone...
How would the commission feel about an approval with conditions outlined in Joe's memorandum? I mean,
so the commission, I mean, historically is extremely uncomfortable with voting on plans, conditioning that things be updated within that 21-day period, because we've been burned before by that not happening, and then they'd never happen. So I'll just throw that out there, that is the commission. My desire would be to have updated plans, everything addressed, in order to vote on it. But I'll also open it up to the commission. I don't see anything here that's earth-shattering or that would change my decision on voting, but I do, kind of as a matter of process, like to see that the plans are all cleaned up and good to go before we vote. I'll open up to other commission members if you have questions, comments on what's in front of us here for Mr. Petrosi, and also your thoughts on voting on this tonight.
Yeah, Melissa, and forgive me if I missed it or I just don't remember where we landed, but the wetland replication area and the size of it, our regulations require, it says we must have 1.5 to 1 mitigation for the loss of wetlands. We do not have that shown on this plan right now. Where do we land on that topic?
Excuse me, but we do. This plan satisfies that requirement, Matt, of 1.5 to 1 replication.
Can you help me understand? I'm looking at the numbers on here. The math doesn't add up.
The blue shaded areas are the replication areas. If you add those up, those two areas up, they come to 1,510. I don't know. I don't have
1,500 something. But if you look at the two pink areas, they add up to over 1,000. So you would need. Okay, so you got the 1.5.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
That was one of the more specific requests of the commission, that we comply with that requirement rather than seek a waiver.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember where we landed, so thank you for clarifying.
Melissa.
Yes, Jim.
There's a scene that cleaning up the plans, if you will, in accordance with Joe's comments, is it seem that that's all we need, so that if we can't do that tonight, and Mr. Petrosi is going to the Board of Health on Monday, which I think I heard, could we at least say, that's going to something positive, like that looks like that'll be approvable, and Board of Health can at least look at the video from this or something else, and Mr. Petrosi can bring to them that the Concom is close to making a decision based on some new plan revisions. So he has something to go Monday positive to the Board of Health, instead of them just saying, let's just keep putting this off.
Yeah. No, I think I wouldn't have a problem, or maybe Judy could, I don't know, Judy, is that something you would be comfortable with?
Through the chair, I think without having the correct delineation on this plan and there being questions at the last meeting about the scale and how the buffer zones were drawn, I think it's a little personally maybe premature to give a leaning in either direction. Until you have a corrected plan in front of you to make decisions off of, but that's just my take.
Yeah.
May I make a suggestion? How about if we keep the hearing open, but send some sort of a message to the Board of Health that, subject to some administrative revisions to the plan, the commission favorably supports this proposal.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I think additionally, with there being questions about whether the alternatives analysis was pursued as far as it could have been in terms of Joe's comment regarding, innovative septic design, as the applicant's requesting a waiver from the 50-foot no build, if there's still options to dive into with the alternatives analysis and questions on whether that was done adequately, that might be another thing too.
Well, can I just interrupt for just a second? This whole, other than the wetland replication, the whole thing revolves around whether or not I can locate a drinking well within the wetland area that we're asking to be filled. If the Board of Health does not grant that, then we're going back to the alternative of crossing the wetlands and putting a well back there.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, Mr. Petrozzi, would it be helpful for us to issue something stating that we're amenable to the well being located in the wetland as shown on this plan?
That is, exactly what I'm asking for. Something along those lines that gives them the message that this plan is, they're not wasting their time granting the waiver. I'll tell you the story behind, the previous years ago, maybe 20 years, 1998, they granted us a waiver, which they have a copy of. They granted us the waiver, and then they rescinded it because the wetland line, they weren't sure the Conservation Commission had accepted the wetland line. So I just know what they're going to do because I've been there before, and the people tend to refer to historical type of events like this, and so we're just spinning our wheels back and forth.
Well, I think if I can just clarify that, we've already accepted the wetland line, so the wetland line isn't in question
right
here. So the Board of Health is making their own decision on whether they're okay with a well being in the wetland, right?
No, that's not it at all. They're going to be looking at the Conservation Commission is allowing the wetlands to be filled in order to locate a drinking water well within the buffer, their 50-foot buffers area from a wetland. That's the decision that they're going to be making. So essentially, the commission needs to bless the fact that we're filling the wetlands in order to maintain or establish some level of compliance of being 125 feet or 100 feet away from the leaching field. That's really kind of in a nutshell what it is. I mean,
so they will only approve the well if it's not in the wetland.
Right.
Is what you're saying. And
right.
Okay.
We're not suggesting to them that they approve a well in the wetlands. We're proposing that the area where the well will be is going to be filled and become non-wetland, and a well will be located within they're established. They have a separation of 50 feet, I think, from the edge of BVW. So the commission has to allow the filling of the wetland where the well is going to be placed, and then they have to approve a waiver of their 50-foot requirement. Now, you talk about like an innovative system. Well, the innovative system may shrink the leaching field, but it's not going to affect the distance of 100 feet from the well. You're talking minimal incremental type of change here that shrinks the field, but it's, as you can see, the line between the leaching field and the reserve trench of that leaching field is not going to change much, even if it's an innovative system.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wasn't, I get it now. I wasn't understanding I wasn't looking at it from that perspective of, it just seems like a very weird backward situation, that we're creating upland. But I get it now. That's why the Board of Health is intertwined, with us. In my mind, the well is way deep in the ground and it's still in the wetland, but that's fine.
Through the chair.
Yes, Matt.
I just want to make sure that I'm crystal clear before I make a suggestion.
Okay.
Mr. Petrosi, the Board of Health, when you meet with them, they're going to review the well location. Are they also at that same meeting making a decision on your septic system? Because that's where 50-foot setback comes into play.
Yeah, no, that has a separate application under Title V that will go to them. And
you're not there yet. You're just talking.
No.
You're focused on the well right now. Okay.
Yeah, because I can't submit a non-compliant plan. If the well is not compliant, then the whole plan is non-compliant.
Yeah. Nope, I understand. So, Melissa, given that, does it make sense for us to deliberate on feelings of filling for the installation of the well, so we can come to a conclusion on whether or not we're comfortable issuing some indication to the Board of Health, one way or the other, whether or not that fill is acceptable to the commission for the installation of the well?
Yeah, I think that makes sense to do whatever you want to call it, a straw poll or poll the commission on that one particular item.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy to lead off that
Sure.
discussion. So from my perspective, and this goes back to some of the prior discussions we've had, of the alternatives that were considered, placing the dwelling on the front of the property would have the least impact to the resource areas. So if that means some limited fill to the wetland to comply with the Board of Health requirement, as long as we're meeting the minimum replication in our regulations, I think that'd be okay with that fill.
I just go down the list of members and just let me know if you agree with that, with a yes. Ed.
So yeah, this is Ed. I would concur, but I would stipulate that figure of, like, it's hard for me to read because this picture is so small. 470 square feet. Would that be the number specified? 470 square feet of wetland being filled.
Correct.
Yes, that's good clarification, Ed. Ted, what about you?
Yeah, given that we are only talking about that one pink rectangle right now, that's the only thing we're talking about. I can say sure.
All right, Matt, you started us off, so
yep.
You're okay with it. Jim?
Well, I'd like to mimic Ted and say sure, but I'm all for it.
Okay. Walter?
I'm okay with what I've heard.
Okay. And I also agree with that. Okay.
Good suggestion, Matt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Too.
Outside of that,
So I would ask that we continue the hearing. I'll make the corrections to the plan that Joe has commented on, and hope to be able to come back at the next meeting with some positive results.
okay. Before we sign off on this, I'll just open it up to the public and see if there are any comments from the public. Okay. Hearing none, I think we may.
Yes.
Oh,
Bruce Holmgren, 9
yes.
Bell Street. I just had a question for Lou. He talked about a deed restriction being formalized for the rest of the property. I wonder if you could just explain exactly how that process would work.
Well, to the rear of this property, there's already a deed restriction, a conservation restriction. I don't know how you qualify it, but we would just mimic that agreement. It would get recorded. I would expect the commission to make that a condition of an order of conditions, that would be in place before any construction could commence. And basically it reserves the back of the property from no activity or no construction, or I have to look at the wording of the document that was previously issued, but it basically becomes open space that is undisturbed.
So a question to the commissioners, would that become an order of condition, likely?
It definitely, if it's being offered up, it definitely could be.
Thank you.
Okay.
No other questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, then can I get a motion to continue this out to January 27th?
Through the chair.
Oh, yes, Anna.
Lou, are you asking to continue both hearings?
Oh, yeah. Until we get the final thing, I guess we have to do that.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
So I'll amend that motion to include both files that we're going to hear tonight. How we want to say it.
All right, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. And anything that you can deliver to the Board of Health, as we talked about, would be very much appreciated.
Okay, good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Going down to work session items. The Trails Committee, Windsor Apartments to Berry Acres Trails exemption request. Do we have someone on the line from the Trails Committee?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Who is that? I'm sorry. I'm
Sean Kimball.
rolling. Sean Kimball. Okay. Hi, Sean. Do you want to
Hello.
go ahead and present?
Sure. As you can see on the map right here, in the towards the bottom left, where you see the sign that says proposed trail relocation and proposed bridge.
Yep.
That's what we're proposing right now, is to replace the bridge. That's basically just a plank that's going foot over an 8-foot span, putting in a bridge very similar to the bridge that we did a couple months ago back in November. It'll be about 10 foot long, maybe with some ramps, depending if it doesn't meet the grade, then we'll put in some ramps, but they won't be they won't be huge or anything like that. And then, as you can see, the trail kind of goes to the north along the wetlands and we're proposing to decommission that section of the trail, bring it onto higher land to get away from the water, and make it a more of a direct path. The other thing too is notice up in your top left, that's the Windsor Apartments, right? The brown buildings. This will enable people from Windsor Apartments and the West Main Street Business District to use this path to go to the Chamberlain Extension to the far right. And you can see in the bottom far right where there's another orange line. Right now, that's a shared use path that eventually will get up to the center trail. So in theory, once everything's all said and done, the folks from Windsor Apartments can get to the schools via the trails.
Okay, great.
And then the other thing I want to just bring to the commission's attention is the proposed boardwalk. So there's a 40-foot section that's an old farmer's bridge. It's basically not cobblestone, but larger stones that fills an intermittent stream. You can see the stream there. And we're proposing at some point, not right now, unless the commission wants to approve it, to do the 40-foot boardwalk over that stone walkway. But that particular parcel is on Eversource property. And we have just made contact with Eversource, and they haven't reviewed our proposal yet. So they haven't given their blessing because they haven't seen it yet. Whereas the parcel we're talking about, the darker green, that's Rec Hopkinton LLC's property, and they did provide permission and approval.
Okay. I just had a couple of questions for the proposed trail relocation. What is that going to involve? I guess how wide is that trail going to be? And what are you anticipating having to remove to create that trail, if anything?
Not much. The decommissioning, well, not the decommission, the new trail will be, the cleared corridor will be 5 to 6 feet wide, 8-foot overhead clearance. The travelway itself will be 4 to 5 feet wide, with the path basically in that 4 foot with 2 feet on either side, like kind of like a buffer area, if you will. So your path is going to be 4 to 5 feet wide, and then an additional 1 to 2 feet on each side of the path. And then you imagine just 8 foot above you would be cleared. Most of this brush that we're going to be clearing, it's knee height, maybe shoulder height stuff. It's not very substantive, and we're not taking out any trees, barring 2 trees that are relatively small and dead. One's already kind of fallen over, it's leaning, and we're just going to clear that out so it doesn't fall. And the other one it's just a dead tree that's in the way. I think they're 8 inches, less than 8 inches.
Okay, that's pretty wide. Are the existing paths that wide?
Yeah. Oh yeah, to be honest with you, you don't even really notice it. I think the rule of thumb when Halt does their property clearing is they do, well, not my arm's length because I'm kind of a small person, and they do arms width across, but basically 8 foot, you know what I mean? 6 to 8 feet. This is standard. This is typical.
Okay. And you're not putting anything down. It's just going to be soil path.
Yeah.
Player. And is there a detail for the bridge crossing, like consistent with what we've seen in the past? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this bridge, so we built a 16-foot bridge back in November. It's basically going to be the same bridge, only smaller or shorter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Melissa?
Yes, go, Jim.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. That's the bridge that they need to get NSTAR's approval for, Eversource approval.
No.
Right? So,
No.
Okay. All right.
This bridge is on Rec Hopkinton LLC's property.
Okay, got it. I'm not able to look at the plan right now. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll open it up to other commission members for questions on this.
Through the chair, this is Ted.
Yes, Ted.
Sean, I love what the Trails Committee does, and I'm happy with the trails. And I usually doesn't take much to convince me. I'm a little confused by what you mean by a 4-foot wide trail plus 2 feet on either side. That sounds like an 8-foot wide trail. So
it's not an 8-foot.
Not what that means.
All right, so think of it this way: is that so you're walking down your typical trail, right? And you got the tread. That's the really beaten down section, right? Which is really compact soil. That's 4 to 5 feet wide. And then on either side of that, it's not tread. It's probably like you see small underbrush, grass, weeds, that type of thing that will typically grow maybe 2 to 3 inches on either side. And that 8-foot section, that's what you call the corridor. So the trail itself is 4 to 5 feet wide. The corridor is like 8 foot. And it's basically to prevent like trees and stuff like that from going onto the trail. Is really what it boils down to. But like I said, we're not taking down any trees.
And how long a path is that pink dotted line?
Oh,
roughly
couple 100 feet.
So like 100 yards, maybe.
Chuck's probably better at it than I am. I was gonna say, go to Chuck. He knows better.
I'll just say, I just get worried about approving 7,500 yards of clearing in the wetland without understanding the plan a little bit better. That makes sense. The bridge I can approve pretty quickly. I've gotten very used to those bridges. I know what they are, know how they work. But new clearing, I believe your assurance, Sean. I trust that you're not going to be hacking down trees, but just as a precedent, I don't know that I love, yeah, go ahead and just do the right thing for 100 yards forward. I wonder if there's a way we can get some more of a plan or a breakdown of what the vegetation is that'll be moved besides the dead tree and maybe the half dead tree.
Mr. Daci has his hand up. Yeah.
To the chair?
Yes, Mr. Daci.
Chuck Daci, 25 Sanctuary Lane. Sean and I worked together to lay out this alternative route. I'm not sure to clarify, Ted. The trail is not in the wetland; it's entirely in the upland.
Okay, is it in the buffer zones though? Is it in
within the
jurisdictional
buffer,
area?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. The length is probably about a little over 200 feet, and the vegetation that is the woody vegetation that's there. There's one little patch of you could almost call it a small thicket of sprouts about finger size, mostly sweet pepper bush. And then there are a couple of small clumps of witch hazel that we, some of the leaning branches of witch hazel, which they tend to branch out, and so the ones that are leaning toward the trail, we may need to cut those back. But otherwise, we picked a route where there's no significant clearing needed. And whereas the route along the wetlands, due to the high water table there are a lot of exposed roots. It's really not a great trail, and this will allow us to have a route that'll be much more friendly to traffic, hopefully, by kids on the way to school.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I have pictures of both trails, the proposed new and the existing, if that would be helpful.
Sure, that'd be great.
So this is walking flag to flag for the new trail. So it gets a little bit woodier towards the western side.
And for every one of these, we're talking about moving forward. The path would be the center of the photo.
Following the flag.
Straight back. I just can't see all the flags. There, I just found that one, but okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's walking along the trail, looking forward.
Yeah.
That's the existing bridge, and then this is the existing trail going right along the wetland here.
May I ask another question, Melissa?
Yes.
To either Sean or Chuck, what is, if you get approval, or when you get approval, when is your hope for building the bridge and the trail? Would it be in the spring? Would it be sooner? March?
March.
Okay. I may be alone, and if so, I won't be the sticking point. I wonder if we could just have, those photos look good, and thank you. I should have seen them on my own before the meeting, and I just didn't see them. I would love a short-ish description of where we're going. I just don't want to establish a precedent that, while I do trust you guys, I don't want another entity coming and saying, well, you trusted them, we're going to do just the same thing. I would love some sort of description of where the trail's going and what some of those thicker thickets are. That would make me feel more comfortable about this one, but frankly, I trust you guys, but more for what we are establishing for what might come in the future from non-Trails Committee requests. And I wonder if that could be put together before the next meeting so that you can still be on a timetable for March construction.
Yeah, no, honestly, Ted, I think that'd be easy to do, relatively easy. I just want you to elaborate, like, now when you say where the trail is going to, I mean, you're not talking about logistics, like it's going from east to west. And
no, I mean, like, it is, so Chuck says it's 200 feet-ish, I think is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had a number for the length, if we had a little more description of what the clearing is going to be, we bumped into some name a bush, and so we're going to have to move 3 of these bushes or remove 3 of these bushes. Something that describes the work a little bit better than just, well, look at the photos, this is where we're going. And I'll just say it again, although I don't think you need to hear it. It's not that I don't trust you two. It's that I want to make sure a future applicant who is not the Trails Committee doesn't say, well, you guys approved before based on a couple photos, so why can't you let us do it as well?
No, you're trying to establish a best practice. I understand that, Ted.
I'm going to go to Ed for a minute, yeah, because I know you been having something to say.
So we saw a couple pictures of the existing trail, which to me looks like a lovely woods trail, not I don't want to call it a super highway, but a trail that is not a mere narrow walking path through the woods, but something that's more than that. Am I correct?
It's gonna be that same path. It's not gonna be a super highway or a shared use path or anything like that.
Well, surely the pictures of the existing trail didn't look like they were 4 feet wide, but maybe.
Melissa, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, Walter, go for it.
So the proposed trail relocation and the pink dotted line, there's no mention of the existing trail, the red that goes up near the wetland. Is that going to be closed? You're going to drag branches and leaves and stuff and close that trail? I think that should be indicated on the plan that you're closing that trail. So the section that shows, like, from where the blue dotted line intersects over to where the bridge, that's the part you're closing?
Correct.
Okay. All right. I think if you could mark that, that would be helpful to know that that's no longer going to exist. And then there's a proposed boardwalk on the Instar land. Is Instar going to have to approve that?
Yeah, but it's NSTAR, and they have their own processes that we have to go through, which my gut is going to take months to get there.
All right, so that's not before us for approval.
No, this is like I said, this is just a kindly advance notice saying this is what we're looking at.
So we're really considering what's kind of in the green, overall green shaded area.
Yeah.
That's what we're, okay.
I mean, I this is something I'm not sure of. Like when the commission approves a project, is it by the parcel or parcels when it's grouped together? Because this is two owners, and I'm not sure if you can get an exemption for two owners on two different parcels.
That's a good question.
That's why I kind of held it out there. I was like, when I've done personal exemptions for my own house,
Mm-hmm.
The letter comes out and it says, at this address, where here it'd be two parcel owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unless you know off the top of your head, Judy, how we would handle that. I mean, if you're not proposing that one right now, then
more because like I said, we're not going to do anything until NSTAR says go.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and the other thing is I'd hate to get an exemption approval without NSTAR even knowing about it, right? We just kind of gave them a heads up, and I can see them getting perturbed by it.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, Anna.
Yeah, happy to do either way. For the commission's reference, when Judy and I write the exemption letters, we always say that it doesn't, this doesn't exempt private property, right? So like if this is not on the property that the person who's asking owns, like you have to, like we do it with like tree exemptions where they're like borderline, they're like, you have to coordinate with your neighbor to make sure like whose actual tree this is. So, we kind of put in some language on those exemptions that says, does not prevent private property rights, being just, gone over kind of thing, if that makes sense. My words are not coming out. I'm tired. Sorry.
Okay.
Another question, Melissa. So on the NSTAR property, trails just in a lot of places in Hopkinton just appear, or they've been used for years. I'm wondering if NSTAR has given approval for the trails that are, forget the boardwalk, but the trails that are already there. If you go to NSTAR and say, oh, I'd like to put a boardwalk on this trail through your property, they say, well, we never approved that trail, the red trail, on our property. So don't ask us for a boardwalk because we don't even approve the trail.
Well, they literally just sent me an email yesterday saying that, well, mind you, Walter, it's not NSTAR, it's Boston Edison to date this one, right? So you have to go back 2 acquisitions ago. And my understanding was kind of maybe a handshake or a head nod type of an agreement. Also, notice how, the way this mapping is done, we're more accurate with the trails now than they were 20 years ago because of GPS, right? So when the trails were mapped, and I think that the original trail was meant to be on town property, which is the green to the right. So I think most of the trails should have been on town property. It just, there's a stone wall that goes down that trail. And so had you been on the right side of the stone wall going north, you would have been on town property. If you're on the left side of it, which it is, you're on NSTAR property. It's just, I'm speculating. NSTAR, I wasn't here 25 years ago when it was put in.
So NSTAR just has this little island of property in the middle of the town land. Pretty much.
Well, NSTAR, Boston Edison donated a portion of the land 25 years ago. So, and that's when the trail went in. I'm speculating, but long and the short of it, Eversource says, well, because this happens all over the state, if not New England, and they say we have a formal process to kind of vet these things. And this does happen. They're like, yeah, we know trails exist, but we now have a formal process to go through these to kind of get it on record, basically to indemnify NSTAR. So if somebody gets hurt on the property, in theory, NSTAR could be liable for it.
Sure. And then one final question. So if you follow the red trail down the NSTAR property, it crosses another wetland. Are you planning to put a boardwalk or a bridge there at some point? Seems pointless to talk to them about this one proposed boardwalk if you're going to need another one 100 feet down the road.
Yeah, if you scroll, whoever's on the screen, if you could scroll up just a little bit, I'm not sure. Right, and so you can see there's some boardwalks that we've already built on
the
town
other direction
property.
is what I'm talking about.
Which one?
If you go the other direction, scrolling down, I guess, to show the more of the Instar property.
Down.
Oh, the Instar property pretty much.
Because it looks like the red trail splits after it goes onto the Instar property. It goes south.
Does. And it goes into
crosses
private
over
property.
a wetland.
Well, that goes into
looks
private
like
property. It doesn't go into town property.
Okay, but if you're going to go to Instar, do you need a boardwalk or a bridge over that? Looks like a larger expanse of wetland down at the bottom of
to the left
screen.
of the sea is what you're talking about.
Yeah, to the left of where it says Chamberlain cul-de-sac. To the left of that, there's a wetland that the trail crosses.
Right now that's a trail to nowhere, and we haven't. If we did have to go build a bridge there, yes, we would have to go through Instar or Eversource, I should say.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with Ted's feedback, and it sounds like you guys are on board just to provide a little bit more detail, what you described to us tonight, but in writing, and maybe take this plan and instead of proposed boardwalk, future boardwalk, something like that. So it's calling out exactly what's being proposed for this exemption request: proposed bridge, proposed trail relocation. Walter had a good comment on the proposed trail closure. And then I think we should be probably good for the next meeting if we have those additional details. Like Ted said, either a narrative or called out on the plan, some details about width of trail, final condition of trail, and what type of vegetation is coming out to put in the new proposed trail. Does that all make sense? Sound good? Okay.
Yeah. Nope, that's fine.
All right. Anyone from the public have any comments, questions on this one? Nope. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we have to vote or anything. This is a work session, so we'll look forward to seeing that next time around.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. We already talked about 10 Exchange Street. So Legacy Farms Road project change request continuation. Judy. Or wait, who do we have on the line? Mark. We have Mark.
Eric Swenson's also here.
Yeah, I'm here as well.
And Eric. Okay, I got you now.
Sounds good.
All right, do you want to give an update? I believe from what I saw in the files, Joe made some comments, provided a comment letter, but that was just very, very recent. So I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at them.
Yeah, we did get a look at them. Fairly straightforward in some ways, just some clerical items noted in terms of the monitoring reports, which is kind of secondary to this request, but good to document, Joe, and we can definitely work to clarify that separately from any type of approval on this request. But then that's really comments sorry, I'm looking at the wrong response letter. So anyway, yeah. So Joe had basically three sets of comments. The first comment was basically just a introduction comment that he had been out there, and comment two was basically all the floodplain comments there. We did provide Judy something in writing just so that she did have that for the file. And we really weren't sure if where the commission would stand on reviewing that tonight, or if they wanted Lucas to kind of start with the summary, or I can just walk through the comments for number 2, which there were a few that we were hoping to get clarification on, if not resolved tonight, even if there's others that need to be extended.
I think if you just want to, because it's getting late, I think if you just want to hit on the ones that you're looking for clarification, and maybe we can get through those, and then the rest of the comments, you know, I expect to continue and you work through those offline.
Great. So, so we did provide some additional information that Lucas did ask about in terms of the compensatory storage. So in terms of that, we basically we believe that the mitigation that was our tables, first of all, were based on the site plans that were approved. The order of conditions had a different number than of 11,000 cubic feet of fill, versus the site plans showed out 10,524 cubic feet. So our table was based on what the site plans actually listed and what what VHB actually said was going to actually occur, versus a rounding up that was in the order of conditions, because we wanted to make sure the calculations reflected what was actually on the site plans and not just on the order of conditions. So that was something that we just addressed there. There was also a rounding error of a cubic foot, which was basically a rounding error from Excel in terms of digits, really, more than anything else. So we corrected that. It didn't actually change the actual main columns, which is 5 and 6, which is what we were discussing in terms of compliance there. The thing I think that we just want to see if the commission does have clarity on is we are proposing to comply with the WPA for all intervals, and we're also seeking to comply with the net volume required by the order of conditions. So, and Joe brought this up. He was asking about why was there additional mitigation proposed? Why was 24,200 cubic feet chosen? And our response is we believe it's because the Army Corps of Engineers were thought to be in the requirement of permitting that actually ended up not happening, and so the mitigation was over-designed and then brought through conservation anyway. And on top of that, we do actually have currently over 26,000 cubic feet of BLSF volume provided. So we'd like just to clarify with Joe about that question in terms of his guidance to the commission, that we do think at this point we provide the net volume, and we're just seeking to provide the interval correction at interval 278 to 278.9, just so that way we cross all the I's and dot all the T's in terms of regulatory crossover there. But that's one clarification. We just want to make sure that Joe could confirm, so that way we know that's actually that actually kind of makes sense from his review.
Having not been involved with the previous review of that personally, I think the explanation, it makes sense. I don't know if there's any information you have supporting that. Was there a core permit that had the larger number required?
So we did submit a core permit, I believe, and then we rescinded it before we got a review back. And in doing so, we found a route to where we could redesign, and we did not have to submit to the Army Corps of Engineers. But we did fully put a permit together, and that's why we went through to you guys first before we went to the Army Corps, and we ended up just going with what we had.
And so the numbers you had with the core permit were just carried over into the.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you got it.
Yeah.
And so again, in column 4 at the bottom, you can see that the total net is actually mitigated. And so the only change request is where is that mitigation occurring, which is at a lower elevation in the floodplain, and also allowing us to do that additional mitigation required from 278 278.9. So we'll end up with more than 26,000 cubic feet at the end, because we still need to add 530 and change cubic feet of volume. So we do believe the intention of the regulations has been followed. The requirements are there. It's just the path we got there is a little different, but we do believe it's actually better than just going with full net compliance and going after more mitigation at a higher elevation than at a lower elevation.
Okay.
So the other item Joe did bring up was whether or not further review of the calculations was necessary. We do believe the calculations that are provided are appropriate for what is needed here. I did provide, I don't know if Judy, do you have, or Anna, do you have the letter that I sent this afternoon that shows column 8 that I added? Just so that way.
Might still be in my inbox.
Okay, because we did add a column 8 just to show that we did run the calculations for the completed fill in the BLSF, and we actually found there's actually less fill than was actually even proposed as well. So that's an additional benefit that that's not even shown in this table, with the fact that we didn't actually fill 10,524 cubic feet. We actually filled only 97. Here we go. Yeah. So we're about 800 cubic feet less BLSF was filled, because the road actually was narrower on the east side than proposed. So
that was due to the culvert design and the way the guardrail was functioning. We were able to get it smaller.
Yeah. So that was so in terms of the crossing being in compliance, it's definitely in compliance from all standpoints. There's less impact as a whole from the crossing, because they didn't make it narrower than it was actually proposed to be. So, but we just want to make sure that Joe, I think Joe did ask about whether or not further calculation review is required to move forward here. But we think what we provide is necessary, is adequate, and can be implemented to finish out this.
Okay. It seems, I mean, my gut is saying it, I think we do have enough calculations here. This is making sense based on your clarifications from last time. If anyone else has any thoughts, or Joe, if you have any additional particular calculations that jump out at you, let me know.
Through the chair, no, I think adding the as-built fill was helpful, and certainly the table as revised is more clear than the original table. So I don't have any questions at this point.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for kind of reformatting and re-looking at the tables.
Our pleasure. It was a good exercise.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes me feel more comfortable. Okay. All right, so did you say those were your 2 points of clarification?
Yeah, those were our 2 points of clarification. So we think that basically we updated we clarified the volumes and the Scrivener typos, which is that pink numbers there, basically just the 1 cubic foot rounding area, because Excel and the decimal and hundredths place is being moved around. We added the column 8 for the proposed completed work. Calculations are adequate. The excess mitigation we just talked about as well. And I think that's really all the items for point number 2 that Joe had. And the comment number 3, Joe, isn't part of this request, but we can, I'm sure you and Judy and I can circle offline just to make sure that if you need anything else in terms of the monitoring documentation, we can get that all cleared up, so it's on the record. But I think all in all, we've got things mostly in line there, and if anything, we can clarify that with spring monitoring for you, just to make sure that you and Judy are good with what we're submitting, and then the commission can look at that as it comes in. But I think at this point, I'll leave it up to Joe, and you, Melissa, if we're good with moving forward with this minor request going forward, or if we're still need some more time just to look it over.
I think. Well, Joe. Okay, so you got comments from Joe today, and some of them need to be responded to.
Well, we provided the page on your screen now is part of the response letter that we did submit late this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been earlier, but I had to do column 8. It took a little while.
It was worth it.
That was the snag in getting it done today, earlier today. But yeah, so we have it in writing. So and I guess if the commission wanted to table it, I guess we're not gonna start the BLSF, we're going to think right away in terms of finishing that last small area. But if anything, maybe if you need more time or you want to look at it, you can table this. And then if everything's all set, you can just let us know. We don't have to come to the next meeting. Or Eric can just come just to streamline things. That would be great.
No, I think that's fine. How about we give Joe time to just look at it, and then hopefully everything looks good and he can provide any comments, and we can give it a final blessing, hopefully at the next meeting. You don't have to be present unless there's some issue.
All right.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. All right. Thank you for hanging with us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have Whisper Way. This is the request for certificate of compliance continuation.
Yeah, so then Chris Nation is on the call along with Craig Nation.
Okay. All right, so we got comment letter back from you, and Joe took a look and provided email to the commission that Joe, looked like all your comments were addressed, that just the things that remained were those things that you brought to the commission's attention to discuss. So I guess that being said, we could just go through the letter kind of quickly and see if commissioners have anything that they want to discuss on the items that were identified by Joe that we might want to take a look at. I'll take a spin, try and get through it quickly, but let me know if I skip over anything or miss anything along the way. The first one we have was the erosion control barriers. The applicant has removed the plastic netting, and what remains is the mulch filter tube and straw wattles that are all decomposable or biodegradable. I'm okay with leaving those in place now that the plastic netting has been removed. If anyone has any other thoughts on that? You wanna?
I have the same thought. I'm okay with the same.
Okay. So good with that one. Let's see. The replication area. We talked last time about how the wetland vegetation cover was about 90%. However, there's comment that remains that the low survival rate of the woody vegetation was up for discussion with the commission and to discuss whether that meets the desired function requirement of the approved replication area. When I looked at that, I mean, it does in the order and condition states that the function and performance of the area, even though the woody vegetation was specified to be planted, it's the function and performance of the wetland area that we're looking at. So in my mind, I think I am comfortable with the vegetation coverage of 90% for that area. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Other opinions?
Again, not another opinion, but I agree.
Okay. So COC narrative states that the restoration area was monitored for 3 years. As part of the last round of edits or last round of comments, Goddard provided a 2025 supplemental report because they were missing all the review years there. So that has been provided. Joe's comment for discussion was that it still shows that surviving shrubs present were 37, and that's below the 133 that were required. But again, the goal was to create a reforested area, and does the commission want additional trees and shrubs planted? Or are we okay with just the fact that the area is vegetated? And the pictures, there were a bunch of pictures shown at the last meeting. I don't know if everybody remembers. Goddard pointed out that there was no requirements for planting survival in the conditions, and that the area does have more than 75% vegetation coverage. So that indicates that, we do have a nice vegetated restoration area in place. So given that, and that it's been a while, it seems to me like this area just wants to be vegetation, not necessarily reforested. And I'm kind of the mind to let it grow as it wants to be and not force it to be something that it doesn't. The good effort was given to put the plantings in. But I'll open that up to others for thoughts.
Well, I'll say it again. I'm with you, Melissa. I agree.
All right. We talked last time also about the mowed paths. There's mowed paths through this reforestation area. Craig had talked about how he used those paths for invasive species management. So the question up for discussion is whether we're okay with those paths just letting them grow back naturally to match the vegetation that's there, or if we should request that any trees be planted or any additional plantings be put along these paths. Again, I mean, I'm just kind of following the same mindset that it seems like the area is growing, vegetation is growing. It's not a matter that it's not there. And I think the paths will kind of naturalize themselves, and I'm okay with that.
Melissa, just really quickly, could you remind me how wide are those mown paths?
That's a good question. I think, Craig, you probably know off the top of your head.
The parameters, like 60 inches probably. And there's like one path through the middle that's probably 100 inches. I'm just thinking it's a 52-inch mower that went around. So I think it made 2 passes down the middle, and then he sort of just made one loop around the whole thing.
So kind of like one big landscaping mower.
Yes, yep. A stand-on landscape mower. Yeah.
I'm comfortable also, Melissa, letting it grow back.
And just for the record, that's smaller width than the trail through the woods.
Good point.
Yeah. I assume people will continue to walk on it, so it might. Is there any prohibition of that? Like, people from the neighborhood seem to come walking along, and I assume, are we trying to stop that, or is that okay?
I think, and I actually had mentioned this to you, Judy, I think.
Through the reforested area, not the replication area.
Right. I think in the bylaw or in the regulations, there is an exemption for like footpaths through buffer zone and in areas like that are like 30 inches wide. There's definitely not like,
all right,
but so I think it's fine.
As long as we stop mowing it, I think nature will take its course.
Yeah, and if people walk it routinely, then it might be a little footpath. I think that's fine. Okay. So again, we talked last time about some invasive species management. Was the plan was implemented with good success. There was a few areas that you had a little bit of invasives noted when Lucas was out there last time, but I believe, Craig, you had said you've been actively continuing to manage that and pulling things out. So I'm not worried about the invasive species at this point. I think it seems like you have a pretty good handle and are committed to continuing that. I don't know, Ed, do you have anything you wanted to comment on as far as invasives go?
I guess assumption that we're in there for invasive management and we've done it. There's no more nasty, bad invasives. Good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go. Okay.
If through the chair, just because for my own sanity, I'm gonna keep an eye on the knotweed stuff because I've taken it upon myself to sort of go elsewhere around in a couple other choice spots in town and jobs, and so I'll keep an eye on that just out of morbid curiosity more than anything. But I feel like I got it under wraps, and then the bittersweet too. I mean, if I see it, I'll pull it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's great.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes,
sanity is greatly overrated.
What?
Okay. Number 8, Conservation Commission discussion if a project engineer should confirm that the drainage and utility lines had clay dams and seepage collars along them to intersect groundwater. I read the note from Goddard that Beta did inspections during construction, I think for the planning board, and went into the commission files. And they noted that all the work was performed in accordance with the plans and didn't raise an issue about it. So, I think that's the best assurance we have. They were responsible for inspecting underground utilities and installations. So I would just go with our peer review engineers on that and believe that they reviewed it and they went in. Um, let's see. The homeowners association agreement to be submitted to Hopkinton Conservation Commission. Discuss that. So Goddard's response was that the planning board, falling under the planning board, that no homeowners association was required to maintain the roadway, and they're planning on turning the roadway over to the town. So it sounds like it's either under the jurisdiction of the developer until they turn it over to a new owner, which would be the town. So that being said, I think I'm comfortable with that process. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or questions on that, but the operation maintenance of the road and the drainage structures are tied to the O&M plan and currently by the developer until the town takes over it.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
This is the way it would work.
Yeah. I think I'm okay there. The vernal pool certification, we talked about this for a while last time as well. So Goddard provided all the vernal pool data for the vernal pools. They've definitely put in the effort on the vernal pool that was in question, vernal pool number 1, that they just didn't have the documentation to certify it. Looking back at our regulations, vernal pools are protected under our bylaw. So I think where I stand on it would be that, there's really no threat that this vernal pool is not going to be protected. It will under our bylaw, just being a potential vernal pool and obviously flagged that way through this process. So I think I'd agree with Goddard's response that it is fully protected by our bylaw, even though it's not enough to certify it. It still is receiving that same level of protection. So I think in this case, the good faith effort was made to try and certify it. And I don't think we can ask any more of that from the owner here at this point. But if anyone has another thought on that, I welcome to hear it. Or if you agree, I like to hear that too.
Wait, I agree.
Agree.
Just for the record, I don't know if you're looking, I am putting my thumb up to try to not slow us down. So I don't know if I appear on your screen, but
thanks, Ted.
My silence is approval. Just hoping to move things along.
Appreciate it. I'm not looking at my screen. Okay. I think I hit all the things that we were supposed to discuss. If I missed any, Joe, or Judy, let me know.
Nope, think you got everything as far as I can tell.
Cover all the bases. Okay. So if everybody's comfortable, then I think the next step here is to vote to issue a certificate of compliance for Whisperway subdivision with signatures by Judy and Anna, if anyone would like to make that motion.
I'm happy to make that motion.
Can I get a second? All right, all in favor, Ed?
I was on mute. Go ahead.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
Eradicator.
Okay. Number
We
6.
done?
We're so close. Lake Maspinock, 2025 annual vegetation report and drawdown status. So, this report is in the file. Judy, I know you had some notes on it, but it is getting late. So, what do you recommend? Would we take a look at it? Is this something that we definitely need to review tonight, or take a look at it and provide comments for the next meeting? How are you feeling?
Yeah, there wasn't necessarily an ask from Carrie. I think this was more an FYI and a requirement of the order of conditions for vegetation management of the lake. So it's just a good overview of what kinds of growth they saw this year, what they're recommending for next year, invasives they saw, native species they saw. So it's more of an FYI. And also in there is an update on the ongoing drawdown and how that's doing. They're going to be starting to fill back up in a week or so. So yeah, more of an FYI. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to pass them along to Carrie, but there isn't an ask at this time.
Okay. No, that's great. I definitely want to take a good look at it and understand it, because I'm sure they're going to be back in the spring looking for next steps. So if everybody could take a look at that and keep fingers crossed. I think we've had some pretty cold weather and not much snow, so hopefully that's all good stuff for the drawdown that's been happening. So fingers crossed that we have a good year. Conservation minutes. So this is the last thing, and again, it's late, so I don't want to tie it up too much. But Judy, do you want to go over a couple things we've been thinking about for conservation minute?
Sure. So I guess one of the things was the list of updates to the regs. I know, Melissa, you had a lot of great comments on it. If folks have other things they want to see, let me know. Otherwise, I'll start working on a track changes version. And when that's in a good place, schedule that on a future commission meeting. Me and Melissa had also been talking about some outreach materials to start working on as well. Tree replacement guidelines, outreach to realtors, landscaping companies, construction companies. So we're going to try to do a lot more outreach to private businesses, things, we've been seeing issues with over the year. That is a broad overview. I'm very tired. I'm happy to dive into more specifics. But yeah, I will be working on regs updates, and we will be working on a lot of outreach materials to be going out this year. And then some of the more substantive regs updates, like tree replacement guidelines, I think we'll pepper into conservation minutes, so that you all have a chance to discuss the more, minutia of what that'll look like. So, I'll come up with maybe some ideas from other towns, and then we can discuss, piecemeal, what you actually want to see put into the regs.
I think also just to note, Judy put a folder in the work session items, outreach materials. It was just a couple examples I found of letters. It was actually on the MACC website from a couple towns that had sent out outreach, like Judy said, to different audiences like landscapers, realtors, homeowners, new homeowners. So if you're interested, take a look, check them out.
Melissa, it's Jim. Thank you, Judy, for all that, and Hannah for all that. It's good stuff. I will get a chance to take a look at things the next couple of days. But just to add to your list of the who we're reaching out to, I would include real estate closing attorneys also. Real estate transaction attorneys, because a lot of the stuff that we see is stuff that should be caught at a closing, like a lack of a COC and other things, So add that to your list. Anyway, I'll look at the rest of it.
Yeah, I remember. I don't know if they do it anymore, but when we moved into our house in 2018, there was a like welcome to Hopkinton committee. I remember them like coming to the house and giving us a binder, and it had like all this stuff about restaurants and different things in town. I don't know if anybody else experienced that, but it came to mind as like, oh,
Yeah, we did.
you did.
Yeah, they used to call that the welcome lady, I think, when I was growing up.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if they still do it or not, but budget
I don't
cuts,
know
they probably
either.
do.
I think they stopped doing it
Yeah. Okay.
years ago.
I think one of the main goals that we have is to educate people of requirements, of what we have for requirements, and that everybody knows along the way when they buy a house and they sell a house, and people don't run into the problems of like Exchange Street, clear cutting an acre of land or whatever without knowing they got some responsibility.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, it's good stuff.
Yeah. I feel like we get people who move into town from out of state, and it's very different in New England, and there's a lot of regulations that
Sure.
I have no
But
idea.
you own a home, you own real estate, and you really should know what you need to do. I mean, I would never buy a place without knowing what had to be done, or making sure that at the closing everything was all cleared up.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no COC at my house, but we made sure we had it done before we closed on it. So you got to look for those things. People got to look for it. But I blame the closing attorneys for not finding them.
Right.
That's it. I'm tired. I'm going home.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Hey, I'm gonna say how that's.
Go ahead, Ed. I'm gonna have a coughing fit.
I'm going to.
I know we want to bail out. We have a public forum, and I've had 3 complaints, 2 on Fruit Street about excessive salt. People come to me because they know I like to complain. So I'm just passing that along.
Excessive salting, like of the road by DPW.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
where on
especially-
Fruit Street?
Especially on Fruit Street where there's an area that's labeled, environmentally sensitive. Anyway.
I can
I'm
talk
just
to
pa-
Carrie.
I'm just passing it along.
Melissa,
Yes.
I'm also tired and would like to go to bed, but maybe I fell asleep earlier. Did we vote on the draft minutes?
We did not. That's why I just unmuted.
Forgot about that.
No, we didn't. We can do that. All right, draft minutes. Does anyone have any comments or not have enough time to review either the minutes from March 25th or June 17th?
All set, so.
All set? Okay,
I
can I
am.
get a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
I'll make that motion. I'll second then.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't present that evening.
Okay, Jim?
Come on, Jim.
He was off mute, then he went on mute.
Jim, you said aye, right?
I said aye, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Walter, I'll let you abstain there and
Yeah, I'll abstain as well. I wasn't here for either of those.
okay, and myself. We'll say aye. I think I was there for both of those.
If it's helpful, I can abstain from just the March and say aye on the June because I was there in June.
Yeah, no, I'll say aye. All right.
We approved them. Excellent.
Yes. So then we just need a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to.
I'm making this motion, Ted.
You go ahead.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I'm looking at you, Ed.
All right, I'll second.
All right, all in favor, Ed?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Fabulous. Well done, y'all.
Melissa,
night,
that was a
everyone.
long one. Thank you. You did a great job.
Yeah.
Especially when the rest of us were clearly flagging for the nation's one.
Good night, and Happy New Year.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. All right, see you.